Hello everybody and welcome back for the second time. This is, for the second time, the internet's number one favorite show. You have found the BYB Insider and I'm your host, the big guy. So here we are, kiddies, down to the last 2 weeks of the regular season. The playoff push is on. Who's going to make it into the A tournament in the promised land, and who's going to fall down to the B tournament and battle for bragging rights for next season? We're going to find out as we're diving into week 14. Here we go. So it's week 14 and we're in the box scores, and it's the Black Angels and the Guild starting it off. And this one, folks, a slugfest as the Angels came loaded for bear. Peyton Manning and LaShawn McCoy dashing through the snow with a big 34-point game. Ray Rice and Deshaun Jackson, the Jackson brothers, there, Deshaun and Vincent collectively, and Brandon Myers, the tight end, bringing it. But as we flip it to the other side, the Guild was ready to answer as Andrew Luck, with his largest point performance thus far this season, kicking in huge. Jamal Charles, Demarius Thomas, Charles Clay with a big 28, and Levante David, who should be first off your board next year in linebackers, with a 22.5. It led to disaster as Guild take a 187 to 160, a complete slugfest. The workmen battle for supremacy between the UPS and the machine. UPS needing it, and the machine desperately trying to take them down. But when they come with Colin Kaepernick with just 13, and Le'Veon Bell with 12, and Greg Olsen with just 12, and Nick Roach with 12.5, and Matt Prater, the biggest scorer of all, with a big 64-yard field goal, an NFL record. But the middle part, well, that'll put you in trouble every time. As we flip it over to the other side, Matt Ryan and Ryan Matthews returning to fantasy relevance with Giovanni Bernard kicking in. But the difference, Navarro Bowman with a big 15.5 score would put the UPS boys over and send the machine crashing through the standings. They take them 104.5 to 91. We're moving on, and it is Team Let Me Kick and the Snake Bit McConnell Mud Dogs. We're in the box scores as the McConnell Mud Dogs came yet again ready to fight for their right to win. But unfortunately, and Ben Roethlisberger and Larry Fitzgerald, big point totals, went a long way to try to help that out, as long as Troy Polamalu doing what Troy Polamalu does. But that middle section was a little light. As you flip it to the other side, we find out that Team Let Me Kick boys were ready to answer. Brady, no Sean Marino, Josh Gordon again, Anquan Bolden with a big game as well. But the difference, a 0.5 for Robert Mathis, as that little 0.5 would send yet the snake-bitten McConnell Mud Dogs to yet another loss. 120 to 119.5. Tommy, Witch Doctor, something, man, come on. Cobra Kai and the Hail Marys, as we're in the box score, the Marys trying to fight for a spot, and they would go a long way with Drew Brees' 36, with Lynch kicking down with a 13, Bell with 18, and there's Phil Dawson coming from the kicker side. But the middle part was suspect a little, because on the other side, here comes Choco Homo with 22, Vereen with 33, Eddie Lacy 17, and Antonio Brown 24, Julian Edelman 23, superstar Jimmy Graham with 23. It's almost like you're running through the who's who of fantasy sports here, folks. And when you're getting points like that, it's just going to lead to a thrashing every time, as the Kais take them 162.5 to 121.5. We got the Boom Jessica White boys with the Monstars. The Monstars trying to hold on to playoff life, as on the Boom Boys side, well, at least AJ Green done something, and Paul Posluszny kicked in all right, but speaking of snake bit, jeez, because when you flip it over, Cam Newton just got over Andre Brown, Brandon Marshall, and Wes Welker before he died off with a massive concussion, came through, and they just, the Monstars just came up with just enough to get them over as they take the Boom Boys out to the shed, 87 to 84, and now we're off to our game of the week, presented by Pyrotech. Lots of trash talk and even bigger playoff implications. It's Prestige Worldwide and the Mud Fork 3 and outs as we're in the box score. Russell Wilson for the 3 and outs. Can we get a search party? Rashard Mendenhall. That's kind of big for Rashard Mendenhall, let's be honest. Andre Johnson, though, came through and was going to let it be known that it wasn't going down that easy. And Nick Novak also kicked in with some good-looking scores, but when you flip it over, say hello to Josh Tears of McCown. 46 points for the Prestige guys. Forte. Alshon Jeffries, you might as well just call them the Prestige Bears for crying out loud, as the Bears beat up on Dallas and delivered massive points to Larry Dameron as he crushes Martin Muncy's playoff hopes. 162.5 to 116.5. So now with week 14 in the books, the playoff scenario is getting a little bit clearer as we bring in the insanely expensive BYB 5000. We get the power rankings for week 14. And as we're looking, it is the UPS boys control their own destiny, sitting in the number 1 spot. But right on their heels is the Cobra Kai's. Prestige Worldwide with their huge win over the 3 and outs had pushed themselves into the 3rd spot. And the Guild, by virtue of their big win and that slugfest with the Angels, now have the 4th and final spot. But what do they have to do to keep them? Let's dive inside the playoff scenarios. For the Cobra Kai's, it's simple. They need a UPS loss and a win for them. Due to their points for differential, they will take the number 1 seed into the playoffs if that happens. For the 3rd seed, Prestige Worldwide, simple. Win and you're in. And for the Guild, yet again, simple. Win and you're in. But for the 3 and outs who are now on the outside looking in, they will need a win or a Guild loss and they're back into the playoffs. Or they could use a Prestige Worldwide loss, but they have to beat the Prestige boys by 137 in order to get there. Right behind them, in the 6th spot, sits Hail Mary. Hail Mary needs a Guild and an out loss. Plus, they have to outscore the Guild by 63 points in order to get into the playoffs. And the Monstars, who is on life support, they will need a lot of help. They need a Guild, an out, and a Mary's loss, and they have to outscore the Guild by 142 points in order to get inside the playoffs. Not an impossible scenario, because anything's possible into the BYB. So as we go into week 15, kiddies, playoff lives are on the line, and the dreams of Dina sitting on the shelf are ready for the taking. Who's going to make their way to the A? Who's going to get to the B's? It's week 15. Let's find out now. So here we are, week 15, kiddies. We started off with Legends and the Monstars. The Monstars on life support, but the big boys came loaded prepared. Finally, Josh Gordon came down earth with a 15, but really, on the flip side, Cam Newton, Pierre Thomas, and Brandon Marshall and Colston tried to deliver the goods, and the Monstars come through. 116 to 111. We'll have to find out if they scored enough. UPS and Hail Mary. UPS first place on the line. Ryan Matthews, DeMarco Murray, and Calvin Johnson tried to hold it in, but the middle section fell flat and walking through the upset window with the Hail Mary at 3 Lynch
Pierre Garçon upset the UPS boys 122-100. The doors open for Jared as he took on the snake-bitten Mud Dogs. We're in the box scores, and Choco Homo choked down 20 points. Lacey, huge game. Antonio Brown with a massive game. Julian Edelman, 32 points. Eric Berry, 17.5. And Hauschka, the kicker, bringing it in. But on the flip side, Tommy was ready to fight and came through with some good totals. Big game by Justin Tucker. 23 points. Shout out to him, but it just wasn't enough. The Cobras walk in with the #1 seed. We're flipping it. It's the Black Angels and the Prestige Worldwide. Cameron Faison, Trash Talk Supreme. We're in the box scores. Cutler Forte, Alshon Jeffrey, Keenan Allen, and Vernon Davis scoring large. And on the flip side, Peyton Manning and LaShawn McCoy, but it was Deshaun Jackson and newcomer Greg Jennings. 35 and 33 points respectively. Dismantled the Prestige Worldwide 134-123. So the door was open for the Guild as they took on the Boom Disco White Boys. But Boom came ready to bang. Even the zeros from Poe and Cyprian didn't even matter, as on the flip side, Jamal Charles, big 59 points. But the rest of the team forgot to show up. So the 3 seed is slammed to the Guild, 165-123. The door now open for Mark Muncy in the game of the week. To get into the playoffs, he would have to go through his most hated rival, Josh Workman and the Machine. We're in the box score. Kaepernick, Bell, Ellington, Dan Bryant, Kendall Wright, laying the smack down. And on the flip side, Wilson scored all right. Mendenhall with a big game. Hartline, Gonzalez, and Robert Quinn came ready to go, but it wasn't enough. The Machine slammed the door on the outs, 155-118.
So now, the heartbreak and the triumph. The dance cards are full. And so now we're going to break down your playoff matchups. We started off in Boomville as the Boom Jesco White Boys welcome in the McConnell Mud Dogs. Let's break down this matchup. The Boom Boys took the Week 10 matchup, 114.5 to 82.5. And the McConnell Mud Dogs, hard luck losers this season. They come in losing 8 straight games, and it doesn't look like they're going to break the jinx, as it's a 113-108 prediction for the Boom Boys. It's the 10-9 game. It's Team Let Me Kick facing the 2-time former champion Black Angels. In this one, they split the series 1 apiece. The Kicks come in winners of 3 out of their last 4 games, and the Angels on a hard luck playoff streak. They lost their last 2 straight playoff games and won the Toilet Bowl last year. Can the Angels kick the streak? We'll find out. Moving on, it's the Machine and the Monstars. This will be your 8-7 game. The Machine come in, they're winners of 3 of their last 4, but the Monstars took the Week 10 matchup of the M&M show. But the Machine, they got a 122-100 advantage in the predictions. Moving on, it's the Hail Mary Boys coming in with the 5th seed, finishing up strong as they face the Mudford 3-and-outs. The Hail Mary Boys has won the only playoff matchup in Season 3 that these 2 teams faced one another, but the 3-and-outs won the Week 4 matchup this season. But the projections had the Hail Mary to win. Will the hard luck streak continue for Mark Muncy? We'll soon find out. So now we enter into the top bracket. 4 through 1. Let's start it off with the 2 versus 3 game. It's the UPS coming in with the 2 ranking against ranked number 3 Prestige Worldwide. Diving into this matchup, it's the Prestige Boys who came out victorious in Week 5 of this season, but the UPS They're 2-0 against Dameron Lifetime in the playoffs. And on top of that, they've never been beaten in the BYB playoffs since their inception in 2011. So this one, folks, a lot of history, a lot of intrigue. We'll see who pulls this one off. And so we had the number 1 and number 4 matchup. It's the Guild of Calamitous Intent, who got into the playoffs, facing the Cobra Kai's, who stole the number 1 spot in the last game. Let's dive inside this matchup. It's the Cobra Kai's, winners of 8 straight games coming into this one, but the Guild earlier this season in week 7 took the Kai's out, but that was the last loss that the Kai's would endure yet this season, as they are on a mission. Will the mission end against the hands of the Guild, or will the Kai's march on? It should be fun to find out. So that's going to do it for this episode of the BYB Insider. Now, a program note, we now go on a weekly basis. So next Friday, we're going to find out who moved on and who fell apart. Whose dreams of putting Dina on the shelf will survive. We'll find this out next week as the road to the Dina Spencer Trophy reaches its conclusion. The BYB Insider is going to break it all down for you as we march on. But with this episode, we're out of here. We'll catch you next week.